Hey guys, welcome back to the Disciplined HQ podcast. I'm here with the one and only Cindy Sember. Cindy, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Man, I'm so glad you're here. Like we talked about before the podcast, you are the first Olympian I have ever talked to. So I am beyond excited to hear how this journey went and to hear, I guess, what it's like as a believer to share your faith on that big of a platform. So I am so stoked for this. And you said you wanted to start with your faith journey first. So, what
Yeah.
is your faith journey, Cindy?
Yeah, so I was raised Catholic. So I was born into the faith. I got baptized, I think probably like 6 months whenever I was very young. And I grew up throughout going to church every single Sunday, like understanding the Bible and but not like truly reading it too much for myself, but understanding the basic stories and everything in the faith. So definitely grew up with that, having on my morning and night prayers. But I would say it was like when I became more like a teenager when I started questioning more about faith. So started asking more questions, wanting to understand, not really knowing. Like I was very much like a believer of, God gets mad at me if I do the wrong things. That was just kind of like my relationship with him. So I didn't want to do anything bad for that reason. And then come high school is when like I started to experiment with sport and just like do a whole bunch of different things. Like well, I would say more middle school. And that's when I started to find something that I felt was a blessing from the Lord. And so I started doing that really competitively and started using that to kind of glorify his name. But at the time, I wasn't really like sharing my faith or anything. I was just having fun, as most kids do. And I would say once high school came around, I started having just a little bit of injury and just a lot of doubt, and like things were happening where I was just like, I wanted to go to college and play sports, but I didn't really know how to do that, and things weren't really working out the way I wanted to. So spent some time praying, asking God, just really getting on my knees about it because all of my siblings I went to school for or went to college for the sports, and I wanted to kind of be in that, and I knew I couldn't afford to go to college. So I'm like, hey God, I'm really struggling here. Can you please help me? And I think he like led a path to track and field, which is why I think I've been able to do that for so many years now. But my story hasn't really been very straightforward. Just because he led me to the sport didn't mean I had an easy journey. And yeah, it took me. I think high school was a good stepping stone for me to like get my faith started, like in my own personal relationship. But it wasn't until I graduated college where I think things really skyrocketed, which was when I
Hmm.
was about 21, 22.
Nice. And so, what was like growing up Catholic? I grew up Episcopal and then transitioned to the Baptist and then now work in a Methodist church. So, what was it like growing up in a Baptist or a Catholic church?
Yeah, I mean, it was good. I'm still Catholic to this day, but yeah, it was good. We went to church every single Sunday. Like our family was very Catholic, so we would, do all the things that Catholics do. But yeah, I think it was good. I think I didn't have too much experience with like reading scripture, I would say on my own, just
Hmm.
because I was kind of like how we were raised. And
Yeah.
so I think once I started incorporating that, it helped me deepen my faith even more. Because I think that was a portion that lacked a tad bit growing up. But despite that, it's always been really straightforward. It's been really, really good. And I think having my parents instill that faith in me from such a young age is why when I went to college and got tempted by, friends and parties, all that stuff, I think I kind of stayed rooted in my faith during that time.
Yeah. And so, what encouraged you to read scripture? Because was that something that you were encouraged to do, or was that more of like Bible study, or how did that come about?
Yeah, so I kind of like what I was telling you about earlier with kind of like when I turned 2021, I was like starting to go through transition into like professional career, and I was going through an injury. It was a really difficult time, and I started to get like my faith started to waver quite a bit.
Hmm.
And I really wanted to understand like why is it that it is wavering? Like why was there like what's the deep rooted issue here? And I think part of it was just like not truly knowing certain things and wanting to like deepen it. And so I think that I just started trying to understand everything. And I started reading scripture more. I started understanding more in the faith. And I think that's really just helped me to know more about God's character, who he is, what he says about me. Like, so that I wasn't going to get into like that rut and that hole I was trying to dig myself into during such a difficult season. So,
Yeah. And one thing I've always wanted to hear from a Catholic person is the importance of like the liturgy, or is that is that right for a Catholicism?
yeah.
Like the just the significance of the service itself. Because I've looked or I've heard from people that like from the building to how the service is structured and the things that are talked about during the service, it's all woven together so
Yeah.
well to like encompass the story of Christ. And so like
Hmm.
can you talk a little bit about like the liturgy of Catholicism that you enjoy and those aspects?
Absolutely. I think the thing I really love about the Catholic faith is that a lot of it is, like you said, woven into it. So there's a lot of prayers and there's a lot of things we do that kind of revolve back to God, and we're really focused on just kind of like praising Him. And it's really, truly not really about us. Like we're still in communion, and we're still, still taking part of the church, like the mass, but we're not really, it's not as much of like a, I wouldn't say like we're not, I don't know how to explain it. It's not like super concerty or anything like that. It's just
Yeah.
truly focused on God, which I personally really like about the Catholic Church. I think, there's a lot of like scripture and other things that are like woven into it, with whether that's like the first or second reading and the gospel, and just obviously the biggest thing for me that I really like about the Catholic faith is receiving communion every single Sunday, because we believe in the true presence. So yeah, I think there's just a lot of different aspects that I've grown up to love about the Catholic Church.
Yeah, I love that. And so your fitness journey, that is how or what is the on-ramp to become an Olympian? And like whenever you were younger, did you have any idea that you would make it to where you are now?
Yes. So no, I did not. Sorry, that was kind of confusing. But no, growing up, I was a good athlete, but I struggled. So when I first started to do track, I told you I was kind of dabbling in different sports and trying to figure out which one worked for me. I started in high school, and track seemed to be decent. But when I first started, I was like, I was getting hurt. I was struggling with like even getting the form together. I just didn't think I had the natural talent. So I quit like literally in the span of 2 weeks when I started. I was like, I'm done. This is not it for me. The reason I was doing it was because my sister had ran and she had went to the University of Michigan and she was doing so well. But I was like, this isn't for me. It's her thing, not mine. So I
Mm.
quit, and then I had a coach who said, "You should come back because I see a lot of potential in you, and I think you can truly do something here if you put your mind to it." So I took her word for it, even though I didn't understand. Prayed about it, and when I did come back, it still wasn't easy, but took some time to really develop. And I think things randomly just started coming together, and I do think it was like the Lord's, like, I guess, blessing on my life, because all of a sudden, like, I was winning state titles and I was getting
Oh
recognition from
wow.
colleges. And yeah, it was just like, oh, okay. Like sometimes if you stick with something a little bit longer than you might initially want to, you can see a lot of fruit. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's when I started noticing like I can be good at this. But even in college, like my goal was to just do really, really well when I got there, to like, show my university that I was good and I could break some school records. I didn't really think about the professional Olympian portion of that until like towards the end of my collegiate career. So it took me a
Oh,
little bit of time to believe that I wasn't that child who dreamt about the Olympics. I didn't really watch the Olympics growing up. Like, yeah, I never really was that kid.
that's even more impressive. And so like how many events did you go through to find like which event are you doing now?
I do the 100-meter hurdle, so yeah, hurdler.
Okay. And how many events did you go through to find out that that was the one that you wanted to do?
So my sister was a hurdler as well. So I did sprints. I always knew that like I was gonna be a sprinter. I never wanted to do distance. I had tried that in middle school and sucked at distance running. So I tried the sprinting events. I tried the long jump, a few different things, but once I started hurdling, and like when I came back the second time, I noticed like okay, I have a little bit of like, I'm very naturally good at the rhythm and I could actually put it together. So that's when I think it took me about a couple of months, but yeah, hurdling was always like the main one, and then I did other things on the side. So
Nice. And so did you break any of those school records?
I did. So high school, I think I had, let me see, I think I had four school records in high school, and then I had six at the University of Michigan. Um,
Oh, wow.
but some of them have been broken now, at least in the collegiate records. But yeah, it was really cool to see that having like different events and having the relays I was on. So yeah, it was nice. I'm still the 100-meter hurdler and 60-meter hurdler record holder.
Heck yeah, that's awesome. And so what was the on-ramp to the Olympics like? Like do you did you see like your journey basically stopping at college and then you're going to go and do something else? Or so
Yeah.
how was it how the Olympic transition happen?
Yeah, so again, my sister. So it's really nice I had her in my life because she kind of like set the stone or stepping stone for me. So she ended up going to her first Olympics in 2012, and
Oh,
I was just
wow.
like, oh yeah. So I was like, wow, like maybe I can do that too. When I saw her do that, because 2012 was my freshman year of college, so I was like, okay, she's really good. Maybe if I try sports out, I can get to that point one day, but we'll see. I don't know. And then once I started seeing her become an actual professional athlete, seeing the lifestyle and understanding how it worked, and she gave me tips and I saw what I was doing in the university. Like I literally broke her school record. I was like, okay, well, maybe I could do this.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So I think it took like a couple years in college to do that. But once I, once I did really well at the university, I had an agent reach out to me and say, hey, do you want to get a shoe contract? And that was her agent as well. So it was kind of nice to still have that like camaraderie with her. And then yeah, they offered me a shoe contract from Adidas, and then went to meets. Like they have circuits for track and field athletes, and if you can hit a certain time standard, you qualify for Olympic trials. And then it kind of the story is kind of from there. So
Goodness. And so you run for Great Britain, though, because you have dual
correct.
citizenship. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I
So
saw
I could
that
have run for the
you're
US. I could have run for Great Britain or Nigeria. Actually, I could have run for all any three of them. So.
really, and so is it military, or how do you have the dual citizenship?
So my mom was born in London, my dad was born in Nigeria, and then I was born in the US.
Okay. Oh, wow. So it's not based on where you were born, it's based on where your parents were born and where you were
It can,
born?
yeah, it can be depending on which country. But yes, most countries it can be on where the parent is. Yeah.
Okay. So why Great Britain?
It was really for like support. So they did a really good job of supporting their athletes.
Hmm.
They definitely had a good program that I was excited to be part of. My sister ran for them and she spoke very highly of Great Britain. Yeah, and I think it was just really cool to be able to represent the country my mom was born in. So yeah, my brothers were also born there. So it was cool.
That's awesome. And so, like, are you going on interviews with each of the countries to find out like which one you like, or how does that process work?
No, I mean, you can talk to like, get questions from like the people who are in charge, like the higher ups. But for me, like I said, with my sister kind of being there, I already knew. And I kind of I kind of had a feeling that it was the country I wanted to run for. And the hurdle program, they wanted to have athletes that were really good. So I think that also helped too. Like they were like they would have liked to have more hurdlers as well.
Hmm.
So yeah, I think that also helped as well.
That's awesome. And so, what was the first year you competed?
In the Olympics or the professionally?
Olympics,
My first Olympic Games was 2016.
2016. What was it like? Like, was it a surreal experience, or what was that feeling?
It was really cool, honestly. Like it wasn't like I mean, I had been to professional races beforehand, so for me it kind of felt very similar, at least the actual track portion of it. But once
Hmm.
I was in the village, that was like pretty cool because you just see a lot of different athletes walking around everywhere. And I was 21 when I had the opening ceremony day. I turned 22, so I was still quite young. So I was like, oh, this is a new environment. I was just coming out of college and didn't really know you're around like people who've been doing this for years, like like mid
Hmm.
30, you know what I'm saying? Like mid 30s. So it was really cool the first experience. And then I think just having that like I didn't really put too much pressure on myself. So
Hmm.
I think that truly did help too, because I wasn't really expecting to do as well as I did. So yeah, I think just having that like light pressure of things really helped it.
Yeah, and that was Brazil.
Brazil, yeah.
Nice. What was Brazil like? Like going there as an Olympic athlete? Have you been to Brazil before then?
No, and I still haven't ever since the Olympics. But it was interesting because one, there was like Zika virus at the time, so Zika was
Hmm.
like a constant thing, and then also it was just not very safe. But people said they didn't really want us leaving the area too often, but we still got a chance to leave and eat food and see things, but not too much. So yeah, it wasn't like the like, Olympic experience where you can go and just like roam around and do a whole bunch. They really wanted to keep us confined.
Yeah. And so when you say the Olympic Village, like for some reason in my head, I have like this tent village situation. So what was the Olympic Village situation for y'all in 2016?
Yeah, so it's just kind of like a college campus essentially. So they set it up where you have like dormitories in the sense, you have like little cafeterias everywhere. People are walking around, riding their bikes to get to their little rooms. Honestly, it's nice because you're seeing a lot of good athletes and you're kind of around each other. But the
Hmm.
rooms and like the food is just not, yeah, it's not it. Like it's not that good. Like it's very tight. You're very confined. Like yeah, like I said, imagine dorm room, very tight spaces. The food typically they're making it in bulk, so it's not that tasty.
Ooh.
So yeah, I mean, we have like training camps before the Olympics, so those are typically better because it's a little bit more spread out. We're not around everybody, but when you're all together, I think they just try to fit a lot of people in one space, and it can be kind of hard.
Yeah, I was about to ask because you would think, like, I would think, at least for like you're feeding Olympic level athletes, like, what is the diet like? But you said it's more of like a mass produced kind of food situation.
Math produced, it's hard to get flavors right for everybody. 'Cause everybody's, subjective to
Mm,
taste buds. And then also, I think they don't want to add too much grease and all this other stuff. So sometimes it's like they're trying to be so healthy that it's not good at all. Or sometimes they just give like pizza and a whole bunch of things we can't eat. So it's just like there's like no balance in between.
yeah. How do y'all do that though? Because I mean, I'm sure like even as like a non-Olympic level athlete, like what I eat affects how I perform. And so how
Yes.
do you mitigate that?
It was, at least for my first Olympics, I was just eating whatever I could. Like I remember I literally for my preliminary race, I ate a Big Mac from McDonald's because they had McDonald's in the village, and I'm just like, there's nothing that's good here, so I'm gonna eat a Big Mac. So, yeah, that was hard. This past year in Paris, the food still was not good, so we ended up having to like go outside the village and get some food, which helped. I think a lot of people did that, like DoorDash and all those things. So, yeah, it was a lot of people were finagling their way of getting different foods.
That's so funny. Like the first thing I think of whenever you say Olympic athletes door dashing is like if I were an Olympic athlete, I would take advantage of this situation in probably a not cool way. It's like I'm not going to tip this person, but I will autograph the receipt.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's funny. And so like what was the so do you ever like bring food with you to the Olympic Village?
Mhm.
'Cause
Yeah,
okay.
so I do like a lot of freeze dried food, so people don't normally like know what that is, but it's just like yeah, it's just
Yeah.
like I literally freeze dry it and I'll cook things and freeze dry it with my husband and I'll take it when I'm traveling in it. If you just add some water, it tastes the same. People call it astronaut food. But I mean it works for me. So I actually did that while I
Yeah.
was in the village. Like I had some of my healthy meals that I cooked at home and was able to eat it there. I had a lot of snacks. And he actually came to watch me, so he brought things if I needed anything extra. So yeah, it was nice to kind of have extra stuff outside of what they gave us.
Yes, and that sounds like such a smart way to do it because I'm sure you're like used to whenever you're training, you're used to eating and fueling the way that you're training. And so it makes
Yeah.
sense, so much more sense just to bring that same diet with you.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Because it's easy when you're traveling to like be a completely different eater because you just can't, figure out what to eat. It's very difficult. So
Yeah, nice. And so how did 2020 stack up to 2016? And obviously, there was a whole different situation in 2020.
completely, yes. I think I was just happy that it was happening. So it was just like
Yeah.
such a roller coaster because it was kind of happening in 2020, but it wasn't. Then they decided to cancel it for 2021. So I think just like giving us that extra year for me personally helped me because I was coming back after 2016. I went through a really terrible Achilles rupture. And so
Oh
it took
wow.
me some time to really get back to my full self. I had doctors tell me to just retire and be done with track. Yeah, so it was a lot of like hardship to come back to that point. So that extra year didn't hurt. I think it
Hmm.
gave me extra like competitions and yeah, more races in before I could go to the Olympics again. So yeah, it was good. I would have preferred to place better. It would have been nice to, like medal, but I didn't. But either way, it was nice to yeah, go back and have that experience again.
Absolutely. So an Achilles rupture, what happened there?
Yeah, so it was an interesting time. So after 2016, I was fine. I had no real big issues. Was gearing up to having a really good season, and it was the World Championships in London, so it would have been perfect just to kind of like start off my professional career. And then like 3 months right before it, I just like am in the middle of a race, and I'm starting to feel some pain. The couple days leading up to it, but I'm like I should be fine. I've never had pain in this area. Um, and then I think I just pushed a little bit too past my pain tolerance and in the middle of the race, unfortunately, it just like popped. So it was like a street race, and they like put a track on the street, and I think there might have been a divot in the
Oh wow.
track. Yeah, and I think my leg went into it, and then yeah, my Achilles like ruptured, and I literally didn't finish the race. So yeah, I've had some crazy experiences in this career, but it was rough. I didn't actually feel it, like it didn't feel like painful, but yeah, I went to the doctor that night, and they were like, "I'm pretty sure she ruptured it," but then I got an MRI, and they confirmed it. So.
Yeah, because I mean, is it painful? Because it's a tendon and not so much like a nerve or a muscle. So what does it feel like
Yeah,
whenever that ruptures?
in the middle of it, you don't feel it, especially when you have adrenaline like I did. But I think like 3 or 4 days later, it was painful.
Oh,
And so
goodness.
I
And
had to get surgery, and it took a year and a half to kind of get back on the track. So it was a long process.
and you competed in 2024, which is wait, no, so that happened between 2016 and 2020?
Yeah, that was literally 2017, the year after the Olympics, the first Olympics.
Goodness. And you went through that rupture and then competed in the Olympics a few years later. That is insane.
Yeah, no, it was a real good accomplishment because, like I said, I had doctors tell me like you aren't gonna run again well, so just kind of accept that you're probably gonna retire because you're not gonna be that good. And I
Yeah.
actually came back stronger. I set a personal best like within that time. So yeah.
Oh, wow. And so when you say
Mhm.
you go to the doctor, like, is a Olympic doctor more, or who do you go see for who does an Olympic athlete go see for a doctor?
So at least for my Achilles rupture, my agent was able to find me like one of the best doctors for repair. So
Hmm.
the person who did my repair was an NFL, I think, like North Carolina NFL like doctor who does really good treatment on athletes. So they flew me out, and I got treatment on him, and him specifically. He did a great job with the surgery. It was like
Hmm.
other doctors I consulted before getting surgery, they were telling me I shouldn't continue. But I think the guy that I went to was really good. But overall, our countries usually have doctors, so I have a country doctor that I usually will talk to and see. Yeah, I had people here, like in Arkansas, that like I'll go and find like sports people who are specifically helpful towards athletes. So yeah, you just kind of find whoever you're with within the area, but our countries will provide it if we need it.
Hmm. Okay. And is it like anything that they cover, or is it usually just related to your performance for the Olympics that they cover?
No, pretty much everything. So if I'm in
Okay.
the UK, for instance, if I need to have a surgery or anything, because it's like a tier system, and I was on like the highest tier. So
Okay.
if I needed anything specifically, like they would give me an MRI, I would get the surgery, like they would cover that if I lived there. But yeah, it's like a lot of stipulations. You have to kind of like be in the area, at least for my country. But I know USA does it similarly. So.
Hmm. And so training for the Olympics, like when you're an Olympic athlete and then I guess going into the Olympics, how different was that training from like, training to run for college or like professionally? Like what is that? Is there like a tier? Are there levels to that type of training?
Yeah. Yeah, it's very, very specific. So when I was in college, well, first of all, in high school, you're doing everything. So I like was trying like 10 different events at every single meet. Like it was just very quality over quantity or quantity over quality, excuse me. And so you were just doing everything. And then college becomes a little bit more quality. So you're focused a little bit more on your main event, but you're still doing the relays, you're still doing 100 to 200. But yeah, you're not doing as many as you were in high school. And then professional, you're focused on one. So I'm just focused on the hurdles. And then maybe in like a random training event, I might go and do a 100 dash or a 200 just to help me with my hurdles. But 90% of the time, I'm competing in the hurdles. I don't get paid for any other event. Like in my contract, I have time bonuses. Like there's like it's literally just for that one event, at least for me. So
Hmm.
yeah, it's been good to like focus on it. It's a lot more rigorous in the sense that you're repeating the same things all the time. So you're doing a lot of weightlifting, you're doing a lot of technical work, and so it's good because you get really strong in that one area. But it can lead to like injury too because you are putting so much load on your body on specific things. And yeah, like right now I have like overcompensations because of just focusing on one thing for so long. So
Yeah.
yeah, there's like little things that come along with it too.
I was about to ask because, like, we talked before this as well that my wife was a soccer player, and like most of the most common injuries for them are like knee problems because they're moving in a very like unilateral way. Like
Correct.
they're not
Yeah.
really going side to side, and then there's usually a lot of like weakness in the hamstrings that leads to like tears in the knee because your soccer players again like driving forward, it's a lot of quads, but there's
Mhm.
no load on the hamstrings. And so I guess what are the injuries that hurdlers usually have to look out for?
Yeah, knee's a big one. So that's one that I struggled with at least the past couple of years. It's like just like my left knee is which is my lead leg, which is the one that takes the most force when I come off the hurdle. Um, I think, like you said, hamstring can be a big one. Just like when you take off, you can, but hamstring and tendons because you are using a lot of just like one leg stuff when you're hurdling.
Hmm.
So yeah, I think those are the main things. But anything can happen. Like I randomly had a shoulder thing happen one day. It wasn't during the race or anything. It happened outside of track. It was a very random freak accident. But when I'm hurdling sometimes now because of my arms, when I hurdle wrong, like I'll pop my shoulder out of
Mm.
place. So little things like that too. So yeah, I think it's everything was very lower leg problem or heavy, but anything could truly happen with hurdles because I had problems where I've fallen in races and hurt myself. So
Yeah, those spills that you see hurdlers take, like those look painful beyond belief. And I
Mhm.
guess have you ever, well, you said you've fallen. So what's it like, or is there any way to like control that chaos whenever you fall during a hurdle event?
No, yeah, it's really not very easily controllable. Sometimes you can stop yourself before you fall. But for instance, unfortunately in Paris, I fell in the semifinal, which
Oh,
was really hard. But yeah, it was so fast because I was running so fast that like I just took a real hard fall to the ground, and there was no way I was gonna get back up from that because of how fast it happened. So yeah, most of the times, at least in the 100, you can't just get back and going. But maybe like steeplechase or the 400 hurdles, you can kind of get back up and maybe do something with it. But yeah, for the most part, ours is only 12 seconds. So.
yeah, which is insane because you're like running full blast. And so like to even think about trying to stop while jumping at the same time is just that's crazy.
Yeah, it is hard.
And so this last Olympics, how was it for you?
Um, the actual Olympics itself, I think, was run very, very well. I think there was things about the Olympics I didn't like, outside of, track. There was things they did I was not a fan of, especially as a believer.
Yeah.
But I think just the way that the meet was run was really nice. I, unfortunately, like I said, didn't have a performance that showed anything I could have done because of the fall. But,
Mm.
the prelim was good. It was nice to make it to the semifinal. And I finished healthy, which was good. So yeah, it was nice, and I think it was yeah, the whole thing was run very smoothly.
Well, cool. And you mentioned as a believer, and I don't know if I just haven't been paying attention to this in the past or if it was more prevalent this year, but it seems like there were a lot of, particularly Christians who are taking a stance for their faith in like this year's Olympics. Is that common or is that like did it seem out of the ordinary for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was just, I think with social media, it's easier to see things now. I do
Yeah.
think there were a lot of athletes that were very prominent in, showing that, and I'm very, very happy about that. That was
Mhm.
also one of my goals. Like we had a whole group of us come together and praise, and just kind of like we're in the Olympic Village singing, and we're trying to like, just come together, and that was also a really special moment, I think, in the Olympics. So, um, yeah, there's been a lot of positives with I think a lot of believers in this last Olympics, and I'm very happy because I think this that Satan was trying to make it so that that was not the case. So,
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, anybody who obviously watched the opening ceremony, it was a little on the nose as far as what they were trying to say. And
yeah,
so
no,
to
I will
yeah,
say it again that that was not something I ever would agree with what happened. So, yeah.
yeah. Ugh. But I'm glad that y'all were there and glad that y'all have been able to witness as strongly as you did. And so you mentioned like being able to worship with other people in the Olympic Village. What is there, I guess, like a religious section for like each faith within the Olympic Village?
Yeah, so I think they had like a multi-faith room that people can go and pray, but
Mm.
for athletes at least they had, Christian sport, athletes in action, they had different organizations that were to bring athletes together. Well, we had a group that kind of meets sometimes through Zoom and we kind of do Bible studies together. So we just kind of like made a
Mm.
group chat and said, hey, we're gonna be, or one of the girls said that we're gonna be in this area at this time. Can you guys meet up? And we'll just do some, praying over each other before the races or competitions. And we
Yeah.
went and it turned into like a big praise session with pianos and music and people coming and watching and singing with us. So yeah, it was just really cool to see that because yeah, like I said, we usually spend time together online, but it's nice to kind of come together at the Olympics and do that.
Yeah, I love that. And so, again, the Olympic Village, there are plenty of stories that go on around the Olympic Village as far as like, I guess, the negatives that can happen. And so, is it hard as a believer to distance yourself from that, or is it kind of one of those situations where if you're looking for it, you find it?
I think it can be a bit difficult if you're not careful, but I think if you're surrounding yourself with people who are, there for the reasons that you are there for, I think it's really easy to just not get caught up in it. And I think too, just keeping your eyes on the prize, like you have to find that balance of like, let me spend time with other people, but also I'm here to compete. Like that's also something. It's like distractions are so easy there. Like there's so many different things people to do, and you can lose sight of why you're actually at the Olympics. So And it's a bit
Hmm.
hard, at least for me. I was towards the end of it, so it's always difficult to like be there and see everybody doing stuff and be done and enjoy, and you still have to go, you know? So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that was also a bit difficult, but I think I did a pretty good job of handling all of it, and also with like the social media pressure and stuff too. So,
Yeah. And so is that I guess where most of the temptation comes from is like your or the people who are, going wild or the ones who are done with their events and they're just still there and able to cut
oh yeah.
loose?
A lot of the times, yeah, you'll see that. I mean, some people are like just, especially younger athletes, will just do it regardless if they're done or not. They don't really care. But I mean, yes, people. I remember in Tokyo, I was literally the last day of the Olympics, I believe, or one of the last days, and people like were still going or were done, and they were partying, and I could not sleep the night of my race because everybody was like outside screaming, and I was just like, because that's a problem with being in the village, you're around everybody. So yeah, that was
Wow.
a bit disrespectful, and that made it a little hard to compete well. So.
Yeah, I cannot imagine because, you're all there and you've trained for 4 years for these, a few weeks that you're going to compete. I don't know. Yeah, that does
You
seem
would think
rude and
that people would have some respect, exactly. So,
yeah. Oh man. And so the discipline it takes to do one thing over and over and over is what stands out to me, especially for, your situation as an Olympic athlete. And so how do you do that or how do you manage that the discipline to wake up every day and focus on like one event, like the 100-meter hurdles every day? Because I'm sure there are days where you're like, I mean, can I do like 400 meters, like, or maybe 20 meters?
oh no, seriously, you're right. Yeah. I think just having the big goal at mind is always helpful. So really knowing what you're doing it for. Not even just like the goal of like a medal or a time, but truly the goal for me as a believer of knowing like God gave me this gift and I want to steward
Hmm.
it well. And I want to be able to, showcase my gifts by glorifying him or showing like the gifts he's given me. So yeah, I think that helps me every single day. It's like incorporating my faith into it because sometimes there's just like days where it's just like why would I do this? Why am I still doing this to myself, you know? So that's been very helpful. And then also just, at least for me, I had contractual obligations, which is also helpful. So knowing like, okay,
Yeah.
well, I have a company who's, paying my contract, my salary. It's like I got to go and get up and do this. It's different when you're a college athlete or high school, even college. If you're on scholarship, you have a scholarship to obtain. But high
Hmm.
school, there's just little things. It's always been like a bigger goal for me in that regard. If like I have something I'm striving for, and I think that keeps me going.
Yeah. And so for you, it's like faith whenever you have those days where you don't want to, or you may not feel like getting out on the track, like it's your faith and, how the Lord has given you this gift or the, contractual obligations to
Hmm.
do the thing.
Yes, absolutely. That helps. And yeah, just reminding myself of what I can do. I think just like I said, going back to like the gifts, I have a gift and I have so much in store. Like for instance, when I fell at Paris, I had some meets afterwards and I truly just wanted to give up and just be done. Cause I'm like, this is
Mm.
just not, I'm not even trying to continue, but I just decided like, I still know I can run. I'm very healthy. The Lord gave me a gift when I was hurt. I couldn't do this. So let me take full advantage of it. And so I got back up and went and it still ran really well. Won one of the races. Like it was good.
Uh,
So it's just like a reminder of like even if you don't feel like it, you still got to keep going and it will pay off in some shape or form.
yeah. And I'm really curious, like, how did you have that discipline in high school to do the thing, to get into racing as much as you did? Or was it like just following your sister that you knew you had this gift and like sticking with
Yeah,
her? Was there competition?
a little bit. I mean, it wasn't a competition, but like I was just so competitive. So I was like, well, I want to be as good as my siblings. Like both of my brothers went to the university for football, and my
Mm.
sister went to for track and field. So I'm like, I don't want to be the only sibling who doesn't like do well in sports. So I kind of felt that as well. And then I wanted to like do better if I did something. I always wanted to be the best. But at first, I really didn't want to run track because I didn't want to follow in her footsteps. And I didn't want to seem like I was, trying to be the same. But like I said, when the coach told me to come back, and because I was really trying to go like towards volleyball, that was like my calling in my head. But
Hmm.
truly, God had other plans, and I don't think I would be an Olympian today had I tried to do my own thing. So yeah, I think just kind of following God's plan and praying about it helped me kind of make the decision. And I think, like I said, seeing what she had accomplished really encouraged me.
Hmm. And so did your parents play a role in this at all, like getting you to like whenever did you ever complain to your parents like I don't want to go to practice today and they had to crack the whip?
Uh, Sometimes not really, because I was a very naturally motivated kid.
Okay.
So I always wanted to train, and my dad would sign me up for even like I remember at one point he signed me up for an extra hurdle session to go with a different coach to kind of get specialized and do better at things, because he knew it would be an investment to maybe getting college scholarship one day. So
Mm,
yeah, I think my parents never pushed me, and that's one thing I really appreciated because I think they allowed me to do different sports. They didn't say you have to be a track athlete, or they just said you can do what you want to do. And I think that made me not feel like I was burnt out because a lot of kids will start track at like age 5 and they by the time they're in college they just don't even want to go pro, they're over it. And I think starting in high
mhm.
school and like having that like that easiness way into it helped me not to feel burnt out.
Yeah. Was it like you can do whatever you want to do, but be the best at it? Or did they just know that you had that natural motivation to, like, if I'm going to do sports, I'm going to be good at it?
Yeah, I mean, they always said like, if you're gonna do it, let's go for it. Like, don't just like
Yeah.
lackadaisical about it. Like, they wanted me to really push.
Mm,
And they said you can get a college scholarship too, but at the same time, it wasn't like end all be all. Like, you're not. This is not who you are. Like, it was never like I never felt like they put the pressure on me to be an athlete, or else I was nobody to them, kind of thing. So I
yeah.
did like having that balance.
Nice. And so, what does life look like right now? Are you planning for the next Olympics or moving on to something else?
At the moment, just figuring some stuff out right now. Right now, I am still working out. We'll see about the next Olympics. I currently just turned 30. So usually athletes start to, retire towards the ages of 30 and then, like that age frame. But at the moment, I'm thinking about coming back for LA. So
Okay.
yeah, that's the plan at the moment. So we'll see. I'm still trying to figure out what that would look like and whatnot. But yeah.
Nice. And living as an Olympian right now, like still in the thick of it, how do you moderate your, and this is kind of a personal question, like as someone who is disciplined in a very impressive way, like how do you moderate your attitude to other people whenever you see a lack of discipline in others? Like, does it
That's a good
ever bother
question.
you?
Sorry.
Does it ever bother you?
That's a good question. Yeah, I mean, sometimes I see a lot of like, yeah, I see people who like live a lazy lifestyle and, they're not really taking care of themselves and not eating. Cause overall for me, it's a lifestyle, like not just being an
Mm,
athlete, but like eating and my sleep and everything is truly who I've become as a person. And so when I see people who aren't using that stuff or sorry, not doing those things, I'm just like, you could be just taking so much better care of yourself or it's not that hard to just like do this thing because for me it's natural. Like I talk to people about discipline sometimes they're just like, oh, like how do you just get up and do it? I'm like, you just do it, but like people don't think of it like that, so I have to be a little bit more caring. But I do try my best to explain my experiences to people who aren't doing that because I know how much of a benefit it has played in my life.
yeah. And I can't imagine because, like, there are times where I'm disciplined to be a good parent and do push ups and go to the gym every now and then and eat healthy. And it's hard for me to, I guess, sometimes extend that grace. But then to have, I could imagine being you, like, to know the struggle that you go through as an actual Olympic athlete, like putting in the work and the discipline that you do. And then if someone says, I just don't have the motivation to go on a walk today or to lose the weight, like, I don't know. Props
Yeah,
to you
no,
for
I
being
totally. I've
grateful.
had people literally recently say that, and I'm just like, you can do it. You're just choosing not to. So it's very hard for me to just like encourage somebody who doesn't want to encourage themselves. But yeah, sometimes you gotta have grace with people because I know I'm not perfect. Like when it comes to
Yeah.
other aspects of life, I'm literally not disciplined. Like I struggle with certain things like candy and like little things I probably shouldn't be doing when it comes to like my eating. But like, yeah, so there's certain things I will say I still am working on myself, so I understand. But
Hmm.
it's something I think we can all work on.
Yeah, truly, because it does seem like, and not to take anything away from Olympic athletes, but it's like they're people who are gifted in a certain way, but they are also gifted, they are also disciplined to do the things to make themselves better at the thing that they're already gifted at. Like you can be
Mm,
gifted as a hurdler, but if you're not also disciplined to be better as a
yes.
hurdler who's also gifted, you're not going to make it to the Olympic level.
Correct. Yeah, like the whole like slogan "hard work beats talent" when talent doesn't work hard. I think that's a really true thing because you can have all the talent in the world, but at the level I'm at, like everybody's good. So the only thing that's gonna set
Mm-hmm.
you apart is truly who is ready, who's disciplined, who had the preparation and the right timing. Like all that stuff makes a big difference. So
Mm-hmm. I love it. And so the one of the gems that I found on the internet recently is yours and your husband's YouTube channel because y'all are, I don't know, it's so interesting to watch this dynamic because I see you who's like this very not stoic and playful at the same time, and then your husband seems just like a little bit more playful. And so like to
Yeah,
watch that is just
he
so
has
much
a
fun.
joking side for sure. So I think we balance each other out.
Yeah. And so how did y'all decide to start the YouTube channel?
Yeah, so my channel kind of started like in 2017 during the injury. So I think the biggest thing was I wanted to share about the process of what it's like being an athlete, not the always the positives, always the perfect side, but like things we had to go through. And just encourage
Hmm.
other people. And then I met him and we got like during our engagement, I was like, you know what, let me just, introduce my audience to him or
Hmm.
yeah, to who he is. And I think they really liked him. They liked his character and he has so many skills like that he can bring into certain aspects of what I'm doing in sport. So it's been kind of fun to bring that in along with my journey. So for instance, we did a lot of prep for the Olympics together because he's an engineer and he helped prepare me by building tools to help me with my start and to help me
Oh
with my
wow.
hurdling. It was really cool. So yeah, I shared some of that on my YouTube channel, but I just thought it was fun to kind of like bring both of our personalities and who we are together. So yeah, we'll do some videos together. I'll do some still on by myself, but yeah, we're doing that, and then we're also starting another channel where we're doing more of like his stuff, which is building together and doing house renos and all that fun stuff. So yeah.
Oh wow. And so I guess that begs the question, is the life of an does the life of an Olympic athlete live up to the hype? Like, most people think of Olympic athlete like your face is on a Wheaties box or something. And so
um,
how does the Olympic life stack up for you?
Yeah, I think it's amazing in the sense that it's opened up so many opportunities. But there's a balance of not allowing it to become your identity, and that's a really big struggle. It's a really, really big struggle because, there's a thing like the Olympic blues they always talk about right after the Olympics are finished and you're like, okay, it's done and this is the thing I worked for, and you can easily fall into like depression or sadness because it's over and it's just like you feel like what else do I have? You know what I mean? Like what else is life about? So yes, it can live up to the hype with like the highs truly can be so high, but the lows can be super, super low. So that's something I've been working on the past few years of like not letting myself get on either aspect. And it's been a struggle, but yeah, I mean, it's just been so much fun. It's given me such an opportunity to do so many things and to touch so many people and have conversations like this, which I'm so happy to have. And yeah, I think just the connections and the things it brought has been amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, is there a message that you would want to leave anybody with, Cindy?
I mean, my only thing is Jesus is Lord and he really is the best. And if you can incorporate him into everything you do, especially if you're an athlete or you love fitness, finding ways to do that will definitely skyrocket your success and your fitness life.
Nice. I love it. Well, thank you so much for being here, Cindy, and I have so enjoyed talking to you. Hopefully we'll get to do it again soon.
Yes, thank you for having me.
All right, talk to you later.
Bye.